Okay, we're on the record now. Before we get started, we have a recording for you. If you can play the recording.
The purpose of this hearing is for the Board of Equalization, BOE, to provide taxpayers with an opportunity to appeal the assessed value placed on their property for taxing purposes. For each hearing, the appellant will be given 3 minutes to make their presentation, after which the appraiser will give a factual presentation on how the assessed value was established. Each appellant will then have a chance to provide a final 2-minute rebuttal. The board will then make a decision. Anyone wishing to give testimony will have to be sworn in. All motions made during these hearings will be made by the Board of Commissioners convened as the Board of Equalization. Pursuant to Idaho Code Section 63501A, only the property owner taxpayer or their legal counsel may appear before the Board of Equalization. You may, however, call witnesses to testify on your behalf within your allotted time frame. We are aware that some appellants may not be able to appear at their scheduled hearing due to our statutory time frame to hear appeals. However, the board does review and consider all documents and information provided when making our decisions. As set forth in Idaho Code 63502, the burden of proof falls to the taxpayer seeking relief to establish that the determination of the assessor is erroneous, including any determination of the assessed value. Otherwise, this board shall uphold the assessed value. It is important to note that if there is a reduction in your taxable value, it does not reduce resources to the governing entities, but in fact shifts the tax burden to other taxpayers in the district. Any adjustment made on your assessment will be in place for the current tax year only. Please understand, after the current tax year, the adjustment will be removed and your property value could change drastically if market conditions warrant it. If you are not satisfied with the BOE's decision, you will have an opportunity to appeal the decision to the Board of Tax Appeals or the District Court.
Okay, thank you. Today is the 27th day of June. The time is 9 o'clock. The Board of Commissioners is in session. Commissioner Daly and myself are present. Commissioner Davidson is currently absent. Are there any changes to the agenda, Mr. Clerk?
No, sir.
Okay, anyone wishing to provide testimony today, would stand and be sworn in.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our first appeal today is Andrea M. Stoy. And this is for parcel S1023223. 530. Andrea, go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay, thank you. I just received this letter yesterday in the mail after I got home from work, so I didn't have really a lot of time to prepare. A little bit of background. I was born and raised here. My parents bought the contested property that I'm contesting in the 70s, and we grew up with cattle. My dad later had a Christmas tree farm that I picked weeds on, and we had, he passed away my senior year of high school of a heart attack. After that, my mom continued to maintain this property until my husband and I purchased it in 2002. We continue to have goats on it, and we currently have sheep, goats, and chickens on this grandfathered right of property. I always considered it agricultural, and it was taxed around $600 per year. Until recently, it's been tripled in value, and I've paid $1,800 for the last 2 or 3 years, I believe. It kind of flew under my radar because my mom had dementia, and I'm a registered nurse. I worked as a pediatric and NICU nurse, and I took care of her. So I'm finally bringing it to my attention. And I guess what I'm disputing is when I look, and I'm not a developer, I'm a nurse, but there's a let's see here, an egress, and I did email this to you, but you probably just got it like a few minutes ago. There's a perpetual non-exclusive easement for ingress and egress into that property. It is a private lane that we maintain privately. It receives no city funds to maintain that road. And if you look at the piece of paper, that has like a highlighted area right here, You can see that that easement only extends to 1919 Colorado. That is the house that my dad built that we currently live in, that we purchased from my mom. If you look at the pictures that I sent you, they're really, at least in my mind, that's not a developer. I'm sure you can develop any piece of property if you wanted to, but if you look at it, it is blocked by ditches, a barn, a bomb shelter that was built during the Cold War, and there's really not a way to get back there. I question how ambulances and fire trucks could get back there for safety reasons. If we were to sell 1919 Colorado, which is the house I live on that we bought from my mom when my mom passed away, we did inherit the 1930 Leadville property, which is the goat pasture. I'm not sure, you'd have to get access from the homeowners at 1919 Colorado in order to access that pasture lot. And I don't see how that would be a viable, thing to happen. We do own both lots, but if we were to sell 1919 Colorado, that 1930 would just be, I've always just thought of it as kind of not a junk piece of land, but something that really isn't able to be developed. It certainly isn't like the comps I was given that are on Vista, that are on high-density areas. I grew up in this area, I live here, I've contributed tax-wise for years. Like the ones you see on Park Center and Division, where they have the high density, where they're on roads that are already maintained, they have sidewalks and accessible ways to get in and out for safety purposes. That's it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll have the assessor then give us your case.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jacob Swift, residential appraiser with the Ada County Assessor's Office. The subject property is a land parcel located on a private lane off Boise Avenue in southeast Boise. It is 0.57 acre lot. The lot is landlocked, contains mature trees, and is primarily used to keep small-scale livestock. The subject was trended for the 2025 tax year and increased 35.1%, which is consistent with land value change in the neighborhood. It has an assessed value of $184,000. The subject is contiguous to a neighboring parcel owned by the appellant and is valued as it contributes to the total acreage of 0.962 acres for both properties. The combined land value for both the subject property and the primary property is $476,100. The combined assessed value for both properties is $675,400. Assessed value for the subject would be $350,800 if valued independently and as it were to be buildable. On page 2 in your materials, you'll see 3 comparable sales that support the current assessed value. Comparables 1 and 2 are land sales similar in total acreage to the subject and are unimproved. Comparable 3 is an improved sale similar in total acreage with the improvement with the subject and is closest to the subject. Comparable sales have a sale price range of $499,900 to $550,000, with comparable 1 being the most heavily weighted sale given its lot features and acreage size. Page 3 and 4 are maps showing the subject property's location in relation to the comparables and a land equity map. Page 5 is an aerial depiction of the subject, which illustrates its location in relation to the primary property, the primary property being to the north of the subject. This page also provides separate and total values for the 2 properties. Based on the provided market data, the subject property's 2025 assessment value of $184,000 appears to be well within acceptable market range. The subject is being valued appropriately as it contributes to the total acreage for both properties. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, does the appellant wish to do a rebuttal? You got 2 minutes, thank you.
And I may approach you. I was not able to do a PowerPoint like he was just because I wasn't given this letter in time. But can I show you some pictures, or did you get them on your email? I sent from Andrea _Korn.
Well,
We did receive the email, but hadn't had time to print out and bring pictures.
Okay, should I show you on my phone? Is that okay? Okay, so I guess my question is the question of the egress and ingress going in and out, and how this is Colorado Lane. As you can see here, that's a ditch. There's a ditch that you, let's see if I can, not one, oops, sorry. I had kids over who were blind last night. I went to Mexico and became a teacher of the blind. So it's hard to tell from this without seeing it actually being in person, but there is this ditch that runs there. I'm just trying to see how that property, you would actually cross through our private property to access the 1930 Leadville property that's in question to develop it. I wasn't told what sort of development, would that be a single-story house, a multi-level complex? The comps that are here, at least to me, seem to be on a fairly busier street corner area of town than what this is. And everyone's like, this is such a weird, like a gem, but it's not developable. It's always just been this ag lot that's been useful for, I guess, growing Christmas trees or having our little furry animals. But it's not on, I just can't imagine any sort of density there for the safety of the city. So that's why I'm kind of questioning. Again, I'm not a developer. I didn't have time to ask developers about this. So I just implore you to look at it from that sort of angle and that sort of lens, that it isn't on 48th Street. It isn't on Leadville. Those are, maintained, built up pieces of property. I grew up here when some of these streets were dirt roads. And so they have been improved, which makes sense for those that are on those streets that are, developed versus a dirt road that my husband bought a tractor to smooth out because it was so bumpy. So that's just what I'm kind of asking you to question and kind of think about when we're looking at these comps, because this is such a unique one that there really isn't any comps that can be comparable to this, and that's why I feel
you're suggesting the only access to the property is through your property.
correct.
So you could use it if you wanted to.
That pasture,
No, you could, if the only access is through your property, you could grant an easement to somebody to sell it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can you hear this dialogue? Or does she have to go to the,
right, but if my mom had sold that to somebody else and we own 1930, I would have to get easement from that person. So that's an arbitrary thing that I don't know if I could do, if that makes sense. Because it would cut through our property, our private property, to access that, unless someone wanted to hoof it on foot to access their
Yeah.
lot.
I think it'd be better if you get to the podium.
Sorry. Okay, do you want me to say that out loud again?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I showed them some pictures, I apologize, stating that if it looks unique, like we could develop that, but it actually cuts through our private land. Let's say I sold that piece of property, 1919 Colorado, the house my dad built, and we had 1930 Leadville to some private owner. That would make it really impossible unless they granted easement. You would actually have to cut through their private property in order to build a road or continue that private lane to access that property. So to me, that seems that the piece of property in question, 1930 Leadville, is truly landlocked, and there are some key features, the ditches, the ingress and egress, the private property that would go through in order to access that property that would make it really not categorically a developable piece of land, but more of the ag land that it's been for since I was a kid. It's just in the last 2 to 3 years, it has tripled in value.
All right, any questions for the appellant?
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Just, you own both pieces of property, correct?
Correct. I bought the house from my mom. My husband and I bought the house from my mom that my dad built. It was hard for her to let go. She never remarried. And then when she passed away, we inherited the pasture. I had been taking care of it for years. She had dementia. So yes, we own both pieces of property. They are separate, however.
So they're connected in that sense?
Correct.
You own both of them, so if you wanted to sell it, you would probably sell it with a grant of an easement to get to it. I mean, somebody who would buy it would probably ask that question.
Oh, I'm assuming so, yeah. But I can't imagine ever selling it. It'd be like selling my dad. He was a smoke jumper here. I couldn't imagine doing that. There's a lot of memories tied to that piece of property.
This is a question for staff. Both of you probably. Is the what's the status of the ag exemption in terms for the property?
To my knowledge, there is no ag exemption in place. I did speak with the appellant about looking at the requirements for that ag exemption, and to my knowledge, she does not meet the required income from the livestock to apply or to be credited that ag exemption.
Has it, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Has it had an ag exemption in the past?
To my knowledge, I'm not sure. I'd have to look at that.
I would, that's what I always thought it was. And again, I have 3 children. 2 have a syndrome where they're deafblind. So I'm a pretty busy mom. I have 3 jobs. I work at St. Luke's. I'm a teacher of the blind, and I work for the Hearing Screen program. So I assumed there was an ag exemption years ago because we had cattle there. I remember cattle growing up. My dad had a Christmas tree farm where we sold Christmas trees, and then my mom had some goats, and then we've had goats. So I always thought there was an ag exemption. Then when it tripled in value, I started questioning that component of it. And I could definitely try to look back in the records, but that would take me some time to do. But it has truly been used for ag since 1970. There is a barn on that pasture on that as well.
Okay. Have you more questions?
Not right now.
Okay, thank you.
Because
I
it's been
appreciate-
used as ag doesn't mean it's had an ag.
Sure.
exemption. We don't know that.
Right, correct.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
So for the assessor staff, are the other 3 comparables, are they able to be accessed from the street? And if so, how do you adjust that for hers which can't be accessed?
Yes, the 3 comparable sales all have direct access to some kind of paved road. Comparable number 3, which is which has the same street address, which is also on South Leadville Avenue. It's similar in the subject that it is also accessed by a private lane, albeit a bit shorter.
It's right off Leadville. Are you talking about that one, Leadville, that is that kind of weird alley? Or no, totally different, sorry. Okay.
How do you, on the other 2, how do you compensate for the street access when comparing to hers? Because I'm assuming you would say it's less of a value than a lot that does have access to the public road.
Yeah, so in this case, we're looking at what could be designated as buildable lots or development lots, similar in acreage, and looking at those sale prices in comparison to what we have the assessed value at for this subject property, illustrating that we're well below market value for what that lot size is.
But again, I'm just taking into consideration it can't really be accessed from the street. Doesn't that make it a less desirable buildable lot that would be harder to sell and then therefore would have less value?
Yes, and because we are taking that into consideration, we're valuing it as contiguous. If it did have direct access from a street, if it had maybe, like the appellant's concern, emergency access, we would be valuing it at close to double what it is valued at now currently.
You saying you'd value it at double what the valuation is now?
So if we were to value it as a independent and buildable lot, the assessed value for 2025 would be $350,800. Where this year, the assessed value is $180,000. Excuse me, $184,000.
Okay. And so, if I understand it correctly, you're suggesting that because the applicant owns the property that keeps it landlocked, that therefore it ought to have some value, additional value. If they didn't own that property, what would the value be?
There is contributory value because the owner the owner owns the property and their primary property borders it. If it were owned by a separate individual, it could be valued differently.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
go ahead.
So make sure I understand what you said before. If it were just totally independently valued at its full market value and access, it would be $315,000?
It would have been $350,800 for that total acreage of 0.57 acres.
So you have in fact discounted it to $184,000.
Correct, as it contributes to the total lot size when we're looking at the combined total acreage of the subject at 0.57 acres, and then the primary property, which is 0.392 acres. So that 184,000 contributing to the total value of the land, which comes out to $310,500.
Okay,
Excuse me.
go ahead.
Follow-up question. So you're saying the 310,000 is for the where the house is?
Yeah, for the property where the house is, which the dwelling resides on,
Correct.
plus the subject lot.
Okay, that's the total
That's the total
of both.
of both for both acreage amounts.
But I guess the bottom line question is it has in fact been substantially discounted based on its value, its otherwise value.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, can I just ask one more thing? I'm questioning the reason if, let's say, my brother had inherited that property, I feel like I'm being taxed just by the hands of fate that those are contiguous to each other, that I own both of those, versus it had been in someone else's name only, it would be looked at differently? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, he said, our assessor has suggested that it is being discounted because it's not accessible.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, is there any other questions or issues before we get into the discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Is there some thought that she could apply for an ag exemption if she hasn't?
I don't know, what does the assessor say?
I have given her the contact information. I've given the appellant the contact information for our ag appraiser to see if she does qualify for that ag exemption.
If she could qualify for the ag exemption, then the values would be substantially less. But there's a specific criterion to be an ag exemption. You have to generate so much income, and I don't know what all else it is, but.
That is correct, yes.
And so she could do that if she thought she could qualify.
Yes, if she qualifies for it, she could get that exemption.
Right. Like, for instance, if you had a Christmas tree farm on there, like they had at one time, that would be, or if they raised llamas or something, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
So it's worth looking into is the conclusion.
Right.
Yeah, all right, here we go. Okay, the hearing has been closed. It's in front of the board now. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman?
Discussion. Yeah.
Just for discussion purposes, it seems to me that there's several options that might be available to the landowner in terms of like ag exemption. We don't have that before us right now, but what we have in front of us, based on the way I understand the assessor's presentation, it has been discounted substantially based on its location and that they have given the due diligence to her, or to the property owner for that. So I'm inclined to actually, and I will make the motion if that's,
Motion, I'll accept the motion.
I move to approve that the Board of Commissioners, sitting as the Board of Equalization, uphold the assessor's evaluation on property S 1023223530, and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board, with the recognition to the individual that there are some options that she might exercise that we have no authority to address at this point.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Yes, there are other options available to you. One, you could seek an ag exemption that would lower the value substantially because of an ag exemption. The other option is you could appeal to the state tax commission. And you have a little more time to look at it, but I think they would look at it very similarly from what we've done. All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Oh, gotta put it in your box.
It's not so easy, is it?
I do.
What?
I do.
Mine's over here.
Okay. Next up, we'll take up Joetta Anderson, parcel R035-600-1315.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me all right?
Can hear you fine.
Okay. So, Jake came out earlier, like at the end of last year, to do a reassessment of my house. I didn't know if there had been an assessment since I've lived there. I've never seen anybody come out. So, anyways, I was talking to him about some of the measurements, and there was, in the basement, there had to be a correction on the measurement that I discussed with him that he changed. And then there's I called it a covered patio, but he calls it a sunroom that's attached to the back of the house by a 2x4 way up at the top. That's the only attachment that's attached to the house. It's not attached anywhere else. And then it's on a cement pad, not the foundation. And he valued it at $5,000, and so to replace it. I've had it in the house since I lived there 24 years. And so I looked at all the boards that make up the structure, the windows, the screen door, compared the price of what it is at Home Depot, and I came up with $1,500, not $5,000. And I wouldn't replace it anyways. I would, if I wanted to take it apart and rebuild it, I would refinish all of the wood planks that make it up and do it that way. I would not buy anything new. Also, he sent me late afternoon, well, mid-afternoon, the presentation that he put together, and had some comparables that he used to value my house. So he determined an adjusted sale price. I asked him, how he determined that, and I didn't get a good enough answer. He said that they use all these formulas and everything to, do that, and I was trying to understand how that came about. And because I called him later after I received this, he didn't try to converse with me further and into the conversation. So I don't know how that's determined. Also, the comparables, the sale price doesn't take into consideration, like if the seller had any, let's see, I came across something that I read. If they, for instance, if they had closing costs that they provided rather than the buyer, and if they had any repair credits, that wouldn't be part of the sale price technically. It would actually be less that value. So I don't know if when those properties were sold, if that was part of that.
Okay.
Also-
Yeah, okay, if you could wrap it up, you'll have a chance to rebut.
Okay, well, also, the comparables, I don't know if they have unfinished basements either. My basement is unfinished. I don't know if they have that, and that's considered part of their value. And then two of the properties are in a completely different neighborhood, overlooking the Albertsons Park. And there's one that's in my area, and it's a 3-bedroom rather than a 2-bedroom.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jacob Wilson, residential appraiser with the Ada County Assessor's Office. The subject property is located in Arturo Park subdivision in the central Boise Bench and was part of the 2025 reappraisal. It is a single-level home built in 1940 that has 1,036 square feet. The home is of typical construction, less than typical condition, and is located on a typical lot size for homes in the area. The subject was trended for the 2025 tax year and decreased 6.60%, which is consistent with the percent change experienced in the immediate neighborhood. It has an assessed value of $302,800. The subject has an enclosed patio on the back side of the dwelling, which is being valued at a nominal price per square foot due to it being in below average condition. Page 2 are the results of our mass appraisal defense of the subject. Page 3 in your materials, you will see 3 comparable sales that support the current assessed value. All comparables used are similar to the subject in age and physical characteristics and bracket the subject in size. These sales were adjusted for market depreciation, square footage, lot size, and condition. Comparable sales have an adjusted sale price range of $321,300 to $363,800, with comparable 1 being the most heavily weighed sale given its closeness in overall square footage and for not having any car storage. Pages 4, 5, and 6 are maps showing the subject's property location in relation to comparables, a land equity map, and an aerial depiction of the subject. Based on the provided market data, the subject's property's 2025 assessed value of $302,800 appears to be well within acceptable range of market value. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Did you want to do a rebuttal? Thank you.
Yep, so I don't know, he said it's a single-level home. I don't know if that's because it has 1 floor, but it has a basement, so I don't know if that counts as far as the levels of the home or not. Also, the patio, or the sunroom, I looked at the code in the residential code, and there's 5 categories. And looking at those categories, mine fits in the category 2, as far as how it's built and everything. And then, as far as the decreased value, there was a permanent carport made out of wood, cemented in the ground that the original owners had. It wasn't tall enough for things that I needed, so I took it down. And then, also, the basement had a finished room in it that they considered a bedroom, but I had a flood when Snowmageddon came because there was a crack in the wall behind the drywall that I didn't know was there. And so it got water in the basement, and I had to tear out everything, so it's not finished anymore. So,
Okay. All right, I'd have a couple of questions for you, if you're
Okay.
gonna. When you filed your request, your assessment appeal form, you did not put down your opinion of value.
well, I have no idea what the value
Okay,
is.
well, that's fine. And I noticed that the documents that you've given to me, I've reviewed a lot of property inspections. Was this done by an inspector?
It was done by Jake.
These pictures? Okay, okay. Okay, and I notice also that your valuation is down 6.6%
Right,
last year.
right, part of that's because of the room being unfinished and the structure being not on the property anymore, because I was paying taxes on those for a long time, because they were still in the description. I didn't know that,
Okay,
but I was paying taxes for that. So,
okay, I don't have any more, any questions from the board? Any questions? Go ahead.
I have a couple for both of you, but probably for staff.
Okay, go ahead.
So you said the comparables, because they're not, they're based on the map, they're not, some of them not very close to the property, but it's age, size, lot, conditions. So one of the questions that the homeowner said was this, the sun, the patio, whatever term you want to call that, behind. What did any of the other properties have that, or something like that?
No, they did not.
And the value that was placed on it, on that additional value to the home, was it the value that she characterized it as 5,000 versus 15?
Yeah, so the sunroom or enclosed patio is contributing $5,400 to her assessed value, which is $33, around $30 a square foot for her home.
Okay.
that was based on if I had to replace it.
And the basement, was that versus the other properties?
All the other comparable properties did have unfinished basements. in their
Okay, so they were
sales, yes.
comparable in that sense.
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Thank you. Okay. Well, here we have. What's the pleasure of the board? Is there a motion pending?
Well, I appreciate coming out to plead your case there. We have a pretty high bar to get to disprove the assessor's evidence. And you've got some good arguments. I just don't know if it rises to the level to disprove the evidence that the assessor has demonstrated. So I would be willing to make a motion to uphold the assessor's valuation.
Mr. Chairman, I would likewise agree with what Commissioner Davidson said.
You second the motion?
I would second the motion. He hasn't made it yet, but I would second it if he made it.
Did you make the motion?
I'll move to uphold the assessor's value on parcel R0356001315
And authorize the chair.
and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
I second the motion.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Right?
Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am. All right, next up is Christopher Graham, parcel number S101542780. Is Christopher Graham here? Doesn't look like it. So we'll proceed with the documentation we have. Go ahead.
Matt, did you get any confirmation he was coming or not? He's not.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jacob Wilson, residential appraiser with the Ada County Assessor's Office. The subject's property is located at 1711 West Boise Avenue in Southeast Boise. It has a 2024 assessed value of $441,500. However, after further review, an adjustment to $400,000 would be more within acceptable range of market value. This would result in a 1.34% increase over last year's value. This increase is in line with changes experienced in the entire subdivision. I've included 3 sales of properties that are all similar in age, design, size, and location that all support the subject's assessed value. I am happy to answer any questions you may have about either the subject property or comparable sales. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, just, so does the individual, does the homeowner, you've talked to him about this and what you just made as far as a suggestion on the changes?
Yeah, so last night we spoke with the homeowner and got pictures from them and decided that it did deserve an adjustment. And yes, we have spoke to him with the changes and he agreed.
So he's comfortable with that too?
Yes.
Okay, so you're recommending the taxable value be 400,000?
Yes.
Okay,
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready for a motion in that case.
Okay.
If, based on the assessor's recommendation and the acceptance of the individual, I would move that the Board of Commissioners, sitting as the Board of Equalization, modify the evaluation of parcel number S1015427800 to $400,000. Is that what you said?
Yes.
And authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board. Do we need to do the land and separate?
How'd you differentiate between the land and the improvements?
Sure. So we have a land value of $278,200 and an improvement value of $121,800.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would
Could
amend
you say that land value again?
$278,200.
200. For a total taxable value of 400,000.
Yes.
So do I need to make a
Okay.
motion to put those two things in there?
Yes.
So I would move that the Board of Commissioners, sitting as the Board of Equalization, modify the valuation of parcel number S1015407800 to $278,200 on the improvements and uphold the valuation of the land as $121,800. Are those numbers correct?
Yes.
For a total value of $400,000, and authorize the chair to sign the document on behalf of the board.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next up, we have Daniel Fiorilla. We'll take up parcel number R57930808880.
Mr. Fiorello, you can testify from there from the bench up front. And this is for everybody else. You can testify from either spot. And if you testify up here, you can actually sit there in between when the assessor's making his presentation.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for the clarification, Commissioner.
Good morning, and thank you for your time.
Yes.
I had opportunity to talk to Tina Winchester from the assessor's office a little bit this week. And one of the things that she was helpful in reviewing was, as we're comparing properties, that they have to be like properties, which I totally understand. That conversation came up in light of the comps that I provided. I think you may have those on record, that were all from Q4 of 2024. And in response to those, I believe these comps are very relative to our property. These are all from subdivisions that are of comparable types of homes, types of developments. Two of them are actually in Riverstone, which is where we're at. It is the highest property value that I had on this on these comps was 326. And that property is actually on Deer Fawn as well. I am one of the things I was looking at. I received the comps that the assessor's office used this morning. I received them this morning, so I haven't had a full review on them. But there's a couple things, and I would move to disqualify at least two of the comps that are provided. If we look at I think page 3 of their report. First of all, one of these properties, the previous sale date information was from the 23rd, or from 2023, which was comparable to. And then also, 2 of these properties, both comparable 2 and comparable 3, are actually beachfront properties. They extend out into the water. They have full access. Our property is not. If you look at page 6 of their report, you can see that it's simply, we have a view of the water. We don't have, we have a fenced property there. And that's the extent of our property line. So if we were to take those 2 beachfront properties out as comparables and using my averages with including just the other 2 homes in Riverstone, which I listed, it would put us at a square footage of 379 per square foot, which I think is a closer valuation to what we have. So I just think it's not being classified properly. I noticed in their documentation that it listed as waterfront, and my property's not waterfront.
Okay. 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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jacob Wilson with the Ada County Assessor's Office. The subject property is located at 7850 Deer Fawn Lane in the Moon Valley Sub in Star, Idaho, within Eagle Area of Impact. The sub, also known as Riverstone, is a gated community with ponds, beaches, community pools, gym, and clubhouse with direct access to the Boise River. The area was reappraised in 2024 and trended for 2025. Page 2 is the mass appraisal analysis for the Eagle waterfront area. Page 3, there are 3 sales within the subject subdivision that are most similar to the subject. The comparable sales were adjusted for time, location, and differences to the subject. Page 4 is an aerial photo showing the location of the subject and comparables. Page 5 is land value map, and page 6 are aerial photos of the subject. Page 7 is an aerial photo of the subject subdivision in entirety. There are a variety of homes, varying qualities, and sales ranging from $500,000 to $3 million. All enjoy the pond features and walking paths along Boise River. The majority of the sales provided by the appellant are not located in the sub and are located closer to the Eagle foothills, near Beacon Light, and Floating Feather. These sales are not located in gated subdivisions with similar amenities to the subject and specifically nowhere near the Boise River. However, 2 sales were located within the sub, and I have highlighted those locations in red. Visually, you can see why they would sell differently than the subjects, which is outlined in yellow. Yes, all the sales are similar in size to the subject, living space, but that does not take into account in consideration of location and quality. This is comparing apples to oranges of the same size only. Appraising by a flat price per square foot is not acceptable appraisal practice. Because there were so many differences compared to the subjects, the appellant's sales were found not comparable. The sales we have provided are all located within the subject subdivision. Quality, location, and minor differences were taken into account and adjusted for to equalize against the subject's property. A value adjustment was made last year in 2024, and that adjustment remains in place. The original assessment was $1,684,500 and adjusted to $1,404,300. That value was trended to $1,469,000 for 2025, which received roughly a 4.5% increase similar to the rest of the subdivision. Therefore, we feel the assessment of $1,469,000 is fair and reasonable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You have 2 minutes if you'd like to rebut. Thank you.
The assessor's office is presenting that that the comparables given are not comparing apples to apples, and that is completely false. If you take a look at those subdivisions, Legacy, Homestead, Eagle Mountains Estates, Bald Eagle Point are all, and Bellaterra Estates, every one of those are similar types of properties with water features, with beachfront properties, and all within the same, I haven't checked it, but within probably a couple mile radius of that location. When we look at the comparables that I provided you in my initial statement, I drew your attention, and the numbers that I gave you were specifically to homes in Riverstone. I would maintain that at a minimum, 2 of the 3 comps that they provided were not accurate. Even if I compare it to one of the comps I provided from Bald Eagle Point on Eagles Roost Way, that is a beachfront property, and that comes in at $467 per square foot. And it is right up on the river, right on the other side of the water of that is the Boise River is separated only by a trail. So if we are comparing apples to apples, I would say that the assessor's office would do well to take a revised look at it and actually compare apples to apples, because they haven't done that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any questions for the applicant or for the assessor's office from the board? Go ahead.
So just looking at the aerial photo, it does look like yours is right on the water. What's the difference between that and then the?
It's fenced off. I can't take a paddleboard or a kayak and walk, and it's not my property down there. It's an easement, and it's common area for the neighborhood. I have people walking, fishing, and everything right there. It's not a private beach. Those other properties that were listed are private beaches. If I were to be walking there, I could be cited for trespassing. That's a huge difference.
And to the assessor's office, did you factor that into the comparables?
So our comparables, the land of our comparables that are on the water do not include those. They're still easements. They're not owned by the actual property owners, those beaches there. So it's kind of like on the water value, basically, or a view lot of the water.
So there are easements to the water. All of them have easements to the water.
Yeah, within the
Not
subdivision.
not private beaches.
Correct.
So would I not be trespassing? I would be in that person's backyard if I were on that beach.
I'm unsure of the rules for their.
It would be. So my property, the area behind my property is common area for the neighborhood. Everyone does and can walk back there. It's a huge distinction between those properties. I have neighbors, and not on my side of the street, but I have other people in the neighborhood that beachfront. They have their chairs, they have everything, they have their little boats. Some of them have docks. It's a far cry from our property. So,
Do you have any evidence or any photos of no trespassing signs or rules from the subdivision?
I would, and I'd be, well, I would have to look. I found out about the assessor's office comparables this morning. I received an email this morning presenting those. I was never given those this week, even during multiple discussions with them.
Okay. Go ahead, you have questions.
Just a question for the homeowner as well.
Yes, sir.
So I guess I don't, looking at this aerial photo that they provided.
Yeah.
The 3 houses there, what's the difference between what, you said they have private access to the beach and you don't? I don't understand that.
A photo of the comparables that they gave, or on my side of the street?
This packet, on page 6.
All right, page 6. Around here. Okay, page 6. No, they don't have beachfront either, so they are fenced off. They have people who walk behind there, fish off of those rocks. It's open to the neighborhood.
So they're like you in that sense?
They are like me in that sense, but I'm just further away from the water than they are.
So but Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
So you have similar access as to those other two, and is it?
As those two, but that's not what I'm drawing your attention to. What I'm drawing your attention to is page 4. If you look at comp 3 and comp 2, you can actually see the beach there. You can see the sand and the beach. And those properties that is their backyard is directly on the water. They walk down there. If I were to be walking behind those properties, they would tell me to scram. Well, people are nicer than that, but
Well, the property lines don't indicate that we have here.
so what is the difference? So is there a different, my property is being categorized as a waterfront, and I would argue that it's a water view. I mean, how far back do I need to be for it to become now just something I can see the water? Am I getting categorized the same way as somebody who walks down in their swimsuit from their house, directly from their backyard, into the water, is going to look at someone strangely walking through their yard, if they were to be there, versus having a view of the water? I live in a nice home. It's great. I'm not asking anyone to feel badly about that. But it's just, if we're talking about comparables, they need to be comparables. The assessor's office brought up apples to apples. Let's talk apples to apples. Those two properties do not match up, and I haven't had the time to review what the insides are like or do any research on these, but those are the things that caught my eye at 7 o'clock this morning.
And are you saying that the issue with the waterfront versus water feature, that should equate to about $269,000 in difference in value?
At least, by my calculations, if I knock out those two and I still use the highest of their comps, which is comp 1, which I don't know anything about that one, but it's, if I keep that one in there and I use the other two from Q4 that are on my list, I come out with an average of $379 square foot, which would put it at $1.14 million.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead.
a question for the assessor's office again. As I understand what you said, the square footage value is not an assessed process for evaluating property. Is that what you said? Using square footage value, is it a standard for evaluating property, I guess?
It is not an appraisal standard for valuating property. It doesn't take into account lot size, amenities, garage size. It's kind of a byproduct of what we do.
So there's not a direct correlation in terms of evaluation processes for comparing with square footage price value for square footage price value.
Yes.
Excuse me, yet it is still all over their reports. I mean, we are looking at the comparables, and it is talking about square footage. So whether it's factoring in a hard calculation or factoring into their evaluation of this unit applies or not, I mean, I'm not, I don't have they are comparable in sizes, those sorts of things, but we're talking about features of it. And so, obviously, a property with a beach, we paid less for our property when we bought it because it did not have direct beach access. Yet I'm being valued at the same price, in the same way it's being measured as people who did.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody want to kick it off or make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I understand the presentation, but I don't agree with the presentation in terms of the value. I guess it's not persuasive to me. The appellant's presentation, especially even his comparables that he used, were not beachfront either, or not even visual to water. And so I guess I would, based on the evidence, I don't think we have sufficient evidence to overturn the valuation of the assessor. So I would make that motion.
So make the motion.
I move that the Board of Commissioners sitting as a Board of Equalization uphold the assessor's valuation of parcel R5793080880 and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'll say there does seem to be a disputed issue of fact regarding whether or not the two beach accesses are similar, if one is private versus the other is public. So I think that is a difference that could be relevant in determining the value. Unfortunately, we didn't get any actual hard evidence that that's the case. I do know in a lot of, cases like this, neighbors will put up no trespassing signs and act like it's private property when it may not be. But this seems like if the individual could appeal to the next level with some evidence that it is a privately accessed beach on the comps versus his, that may have some bearing on the final valuation. We just don't have evidence related to that, and then evidence related to how much that would change the value if that's the case. So I will support the Commissioner Daley's motion.
Okay, well, you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. You can't appeal this to the State Tax Board of Appeals.
I just wanted to ask, I wasn't given the information on the comps until this morning, even though there was ample opportunity for that. And to your point, like, how am I supposed to put a defense for that if the comps, I'd be happy to provide that, and I'm guessing must go to the tax board now at this point, but.
You can take it to the Board of Tax Appeals, yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, next up we have Braden Lasher. Good morning, Braden.
Good morning. What's that?
Would you like a copy?
I got one. Yep, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, Braden, go ahead.
Okay, so I have this property here that is on Stoddard Road. I purchased this property a few years ago now. Bought it in 2022. Went under contract actually in 2021, in the peak of the peak. Ended up putting the property under contract actually in 2021 for $750,000 with the intention of I'm a local builder developer. And then we, during COVID, ran out of time to get the entitlements done. And in order to extend our due diligence to close on the property, the homeowner actually raised the price to $950,000. So we ended up paying a couple $100,000 more than we thought we were going to, but it was either that or lose all your earnest money. So we ended up pushing forward with it. We ended up closing on it. Definitely into the property a little bit more than we anticipated, but we're moving forward with development. So should have this thing hopefully developed this next, or before the end of the year, hopefully. But I got my assessment on it last year, went up by 60-some%, missed the appeal, and then got a value back on it this year, went up by another 47%. So overall, when the property was closed on, it created a new property line. And that property, was, I guess, established in 2022. It's always been zoned, always been annexed into the city of Meridian. And it was valued, I guess, in 2022 or 23, I think it was, at like 400 and something thousand. Then it went up to 600 and something thousand. Now it's at like 900 and something thousand. So, and the property has not changed over the course of these couple of years. It's just been sitting there as vacant land with horses actually roaming on it. I looked at the comps that they sent over this morning, or I guess it was yesterday. So I did look at it last night, and I definitely disagree with some of the comps. Actually, one of the comps they sent was like over 6 miles away in northeast Meridian. So it's like on the Boise and Eagle and Meridian border. So it's definitely way out of there. And then if you look at a couple of other comps, I don't necessarily disagree with them. The main question that I have is he's posting here as sales for the comparable one, comp two. But if you look at the assessments of those sales, For instance, comp number 2, he has a sale of 2.6 million, and he assessed it this year at like 1.4. So I'm a little confused on how these guys are, selling their property for, $2 million, and then it's getting assessed at 1.4, whereas, my property is going crazy above, even above what I paid for it in the peak of 2021. So, or I guess 2022 is when I closed. So,
Okay. Anything else?
no, I mean, a rebuttal.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah, all right. Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jacob Wilson. I'm a residential appraiser with the Ada County Assessor's Office. The subject property is development land located on Stoddard Road between Overland and Victory Roads in southwest Meridian. The property is 3.1 acres of development land that has flat topography, residential views, R8 zoning, and is accessible by a paved road. As of January 1st, 2025, public utilities and services were not attached to the property, but are available along Stoddard Road and provide services to adjoining subdivisions directly to the north and east. The subject's property was purchased with a closing date of December 29th, 2022 for $966,140, and currently the property is being developed with improvements underway. While the subject's property's assessed value $981,800 is a 47% increase in value year over year initially, looks high. The actual percentage increase was only 1.6% increase from the original purchase price of $966,140. The assessed value of $981,800, or $310,000 an acre, is reflective of current and recent past development land sales and shown by the comparable sales within the market. Page 2 in your materials, you will see 3 comparable sales that support assessed value. All comparables are raw development land sales that include the subject itself. Comparable 2 initially had a home and other structures on the property, but has been raised since purchase to accommodate new construction on both parcels. Because of the physical comparability to the subject, these sales were adjusted only for market appreciation that occurred since the respective sales date. Comparable sales have an adjusted per acre sales price of $339,000 to $371,000, with comparable 1 being most heavily weighed sales, given it is the actual sale of the subject's property. Pages 3, 4, and 5 are maps showing the subject's property location in relation to the comparables, a land equity map, and an aerial depiction of the subject. Based on the provided market data, the subject's property's 2025 assessed value of $310,000 per acre is within the state's plus or minus 10% of market value. The appellant provided comparables are not sales but assessed value of properties. 2 are single-family dwellings with acreage attached to them. The third is development land but only shows assessed value. None of the comparables provided are sales that occurred on the open market. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thanks. So I do agree that the things that I did attach, they are assessed values. They're not sales that actually occurred. But it is, in my eyes, if they're getting assessed, right, for owning similar property, I should be being assessed by owning similar property as well. Also, if you look at comp number 2 that he sent over, there's actually a property right next to that. I don't know why he chose that one, because that one's actually zoned RUT and it's in Ada County. If you look at the one just to the south of that, that's actually zoned R8 and in City of Meridian, which is exactly the same as what mine is. And it's actually owned by KB Homes, which obviously is being developed. And so that one, if you look at it, is only assessed right now at $170,000 an acre, and that's including a house. And that house is worth $394,000. So their property without the house on an R8 zoned property, which is only a couple miles away, right next to the comp that he did, is only valued at $100,000 an acre. And I'm valued right now at $339,000 an acre. So I'm like over triple what all of these other similarly zoned, similarly annexed, owned actually by KB Homes is one of them, which is actually, a builder developer, right? So although he can say, yeah, like they're not sales, there was a sale attached to it, and I'm sure he can look at that. but why is my property being assessed based on a sales price that happened 3 years ago when we were at like a peak and everyone else is getting assessed at $170,000 an acre, $200,000 an acre, $100,000 an acre? I'm over $100,000 an acre over what all of these are. And the properties that you chose were not even the same zoning or the same annexation. Some of them are in Ada County as RUT property. So I don't know. It just seems to me like when I looked at everything, I mean, similarly zoned, similarly planned properties, they're in a second phase of a different subdivision even, and they're valued at half what mine is, so.
Okay, so you're suggesting the $966,140 was over market?
Yes, much over market, yes. And I feel like other people that are, that have similar properties that are holding them and are developing them right now, because if you look over at Quarter Horse Lane actually right now, they're putting in utilities no different than I am right now. And I know he also said, hey, utilities are readily available. That's a pretty bold statement too, because in development world, there's a lot of different things that factor in. Actually, on this property in particular, I had to drag the sewer down the road, I had to drag the gas down the road, I had to move all the power poles, and I had to loop the water through a different subdivision. So I had a bunch of different offsites on this property. So to say they're like readily available is definitely not 100% accurate. My development costs on it, just so, I mean, when I called him originally, we went through and looked at everything, and he said, oh yeah, it's R8, so you can put 8 homes the acre. And I said, well, actually, we already got the entitlements done, and we're only getting 12 homes in there, not 8 homes to the acre, which would be like 24 homes. So we're like under 4 homes to the acre, I think. My development costs are going to be over $80,000 a lot to get that in there. We closed on the property for probably right around $80,000 a lot, so we'll be into these lots at least 160, 165 when we're all said and done. But the improvements still have to happen. We still haven't put the improvements in. I get it once I put the utilities in and we record it and we have 12 lots. I'll gladly pay the assessment on those 12 lots because I'll get an assessment on every one of those, and they'll assess those likely at 100 and judging from what's around there, probably $130,000 to $140,000. So I'll be upside down in them. No big deal. We'll build them and make the money back, I'm sure, on the homes. So, but yeah, at this point, we're definitely in an over market value, but it is what it is. We made a decision in '22, and we're sticking with it.
All right. Any questions from the board?
My question is for the assessor's office and explanation in relation to what he said in terms of the comparables, et cetera. Do you have any answers to those?
Sure, he referenced our comparable number 2 at 4600 Quarter Horse Lane was sold and advertised as converting the property to R8 or higher density zoning to conform with the surrounding subdivisions. KB Homes purchased this property for $2,642,000 and owns the property to the west, which is R8 zoning. As of January 1st, 2025, the property including the home, was assessed as a single-family dwelling on acreage with a total value of $1,423,149. So $920,000 for the improvement and $502,000 for the land. So this is kind of showing the change in use from single-family to development land because KB Homes purchased it for over $2.5 million.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, no questions. All right. So we'll take up then parcel S1224315,000. What is the what's the wishes of the board? Any discussion or a motion? Is there a motion?
Go ahead. Do you have one? Or do you have comments or a motion?
I didn't have any more questions. Just reviewing the evidence here and hearing the testimony, I'm just not sure that the applicants met the burden to overturn the assessor's valuation. So I'm going to move that the Board of Commissioners, sitting as the Board of Equalization, uphold the assessor's valuation on parcel number S1224315,000 and authorize the chairman to sign the document on behalf of the board.
I second the motion with the same comments that Commissioner Davidson said, and with the understanding that the landowner does have the right to go to the Board of Tax Appeals to present his case as well.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Is there further discussion? No. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, now we are at the 10 o'clock hour, and we have one individual, Mr. Dale Pipkin. Is Dale Pipkin in the audience? All right. Before we start the 10 o'clock hour, we have a recording that we'd like to play for everyone, and then if you're going to offer testimony, you have to be sworn in, so go ahead.
BOE to provide taxpayers with an opportunity to appeal the assessed value placed on their property for taxing purposes. For each hearing, the appellant will be given 3 minutes to make their presentation, after which the appraiser will give a factual presentation on how the assessed value was established. Each appellant will then have a chance to provide a final 2-minute rebuttal. The board will then make a decision. Anyone wishing to give testimony will have to be sworn in. All motions made during these hearings will be made by the Board of Commissioners convened as the Board of Equalization. Pursuant to Idaho Code Section 63501A, only the property owner taxpayer or their legal counsel may appear before the Board of Equalization. You may, however, call witnesses to testify on your behalf within your allotted time frame. We are aware that some appellants may not be able to appear at their scheduled hearing due to our statutory time frame to hear appeals. However, the board does review and consider all documents and information provided when making our decisions. As set forth in Idaho Code 63502, the burden of proof falls to the taxpayer seeking relief to establish that the determination of the assessor is erroneous, including any determination of the assessed value. Otherwise, this board shall uphold the assessed value. It is important to note that if there is a reduction in your taxable value, it does not reduce resources to the governing entities, but in fact shifts the tax burden to other taxpayers in the district. Any adjustment made on your assessment will be in place for the current tax year only. Please understand, after the current tax year, the adjustment will be removed and your property value could change drastically if market conditions warrant it. If you are not satisfied with the BOE's decision, you will have an opportunity to appeal the decision to the Board of Tax Appeals or the District Court.
Okay, if anyone's planning on entering into testimony, please stand, we'll swear you in.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth? I do. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Pipkin. We'll take up now, let's see, R733.
Thank you.
284010. Go ahead, Mr. Pipkin.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So I bought that house in '89. One of the things that has come up in the last couple of years on it is we wanted to expand on the west side of the property, which I have about 55 feet out to the Ada County Highway property line. And though they have not, they have plans to widen the road, so Ada County will not let us build on that entire strip of property down the west fence line of Maple Grove, which is 40 feet by 150 foot. It's basically useless. We were going to put a three-sided carport, a five-car carport down the fence line, and we would meet the setbacks, but because Ada County Highway District in the future is going to widen the road. Ada County has already adopted a no-build zone down Maple Grove. So we have a 40-foot by 150-foot strip that we can't even use on our property other than pay to water the grass and mow the weeds. So that's pretty much the only relief I'm looking for out there, other than a lot of the neighborhoods that are out there serviced with the same type of house we have. We don't have any, our subdivision was built in 75. We don't have irrigation, we don't have storm drain, we don't have lighting, we don't have fire hydrants, we don't have sewer, we don't have a park nearby, we don't really have anything for the area right there on Maple Grove and Desert. So that's the other part of the equation for this, my personal house. But probably the biggest thing is the fact that we can't really even use a huge section, 1/3 of the property we can't even use. We can't develop it, we can't do nothing but, park in the dirt. So being able not to build on your property, an ADU, or like in our case, another parking garage. I'm a contractor, I have lots of equipment, I could store lots of stuff underneath a roof, and we can't do it. So we're kind of at a loss for usage on that property. So our property is not the same valuation as other properties around there unless they are directly on Maple Grove.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, you'll be able to rebut the assessor's opinion. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jacob Wilson, residential appraiser with the Ada County Assessor's Office. The subject's property is located in Rancho Estates, southwest Boise. It is a single-story home built in 1977 with addition around 1994 that resulted in 1,812 square feet on the main floor and 532 square feet in the unfinished basement that is currently on record. It has 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, fireplace, an attached garage, and an 888 square foot general purpose building. The home is of typical construction and less than average condition for the area. It is located on a .418 acre lot, which is typical for the subdivision since the subject parcel sides Maple Grove and doesn't have a sidewalk along that road, though does in the front of the home. It has been given a negative 5% adjustment, which has already been applied to the land value. A letter was sent in 2023 to verify the sketch on file. Upon filing an appeal, requests for information and an offer to inspect were left with no confirmation. The subject was trended for the 2025 tax year and increased 2.40%, which is consistent with the immediate neighborhood. It has an assessed value of $460,500. Page 2 are the results of our mass appraisal defense for the subject. Page 3 in your materials, you will see 3 comparable sales that support the current assessed value. All comparable sales used are from the subject's subdivision, which would address the appellant's concern about lack of services. Per appellant, no service in counties such as curb, gutters, sidewalks, bike lanes, fire hydrants, sewers, drainage, buses, or parks. They are all similar to the subject in regards to said services. The comparables are also similar in age, characteristics, bracket the subject's main floor in square footage, and similar in land size. These sales were adjusted for time, square footage, with additional negative adjustments to land for the subject citing Maple Grove. Comparable sales have an adjusted price range of $546,200 to $586,800, which is considerably higher than the subject's assessed value. Pages 4, 5, and 6 are maps showing the subject's property location in relation to comparables, a land equity map, and an aerial depiction of the subject. Based on provided market data, the subject's property's 2025 assessment value of $460,500 appears to be well within the acceptable range of market value, if not low. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I disagree. He didn't bring up any of the issue of the Ada County forced issue of non-buildable land on private property. So Ada County Planning and Zoning has taken Ada County Highway's position that even though they haven't brought anything forward, they are stopping you at this time from putting any permanent structure in the ground that you own, because it's in the future right-of-way of Ada County Highway District. And so in the future, they could buy the property and tear down the structure. So we don't know when, they don't have a date for widening Maple Grove out in our area. So why would Ada County Planning and Zoning, Ada County itself, stop homeowners from improving their property for what is going to be done in the future? There's a lot of projects that go on all over this state where they tear down structures when they widen the road. So I could go for the next 10, 15 years without ever seeing Maple Grove widened, and yet I can't use that portion of the property. It may not seem like a lot, and you look at those other houses are landlocked. I bought this lot particularly because I could access it from Maple Grove and from Mandan Court. Those other houses have absolutely no, they're not on a side street. Every picture he showed, they have neighboring fences, so they're not going anywhere. Mine, I'm gonna be losing property one day, but until then, I'm at a stop of losing my property through Ada County.
Okay. In your appeal form, you paid $2,500 for the property?
No.
No, that's what you have here.
No.
And that you think the current value is $5,000?
Looking at the wrong,
Are you looking at the wrong?
he's
No.
got 3 parcels.
There's four appeals.
Well, then my file is wrong here, because I'm looking at the same parcel.
Our parcels are commercial piece.
Oh, well, let me see here. Well-
169,000.
Okay, well, my forms are a little different thing. All right, well, good enough. Anything else? Okay, any questions for the applicant,
For the
assessor?
assessor's office, I think you said you didn't address it. It sounds like you said you did take a 5% deduction based on the Maple Grove Road inability to build on that side. Is that what you said?
Yes, it's proximity to Maple Grove Road and there being no sidewalk there, we did take a 5% reduction.
So does that mean ACHD is taking 5% of his property in the future?
No, that does not mean that. I'm not aware of any permits from
They're taking
ACHD.
25%.
So they're going to take 25% of your property to widen out Maple Grove Road. And what's the legal mechanism they have that says you can't build?
Ada County Planning and Zoning has already adopted that it's a no-build zone because of the future right-of-way of Ada County Highway District.
So, to me, that raises the interesting question of should you be taxed on that part of the land that you're not allowed to build on, that's going to be potentially taking in the future. So for the assessor's office, how does your office treat property like that that's kind of in limbo where you own it, but you don't really own it? You only seem to own it on paper, but you can't do anything with it, so it's almost more of a detriment than a benefit. How does the assessor's office treat that type of situation?
Right now, he could still use it. He can't build on it. So when Ada County, if and when they do take that permanently away, he'll be reassessed for that new amount of land he has. So it's usable land to him still, just not buildable, I guess.
I mean, it feels like, looking from the outside, it should be worth less just because of its status, because, you can only use it to cut the grass, I suppose. If you can't build anything, I don't know, gut feeling feels like it shouldn't be worth as much.
Oh, sorry, is that to me?
That's to the assessor's
Yeah,
office.
I would say that you're correct. It's not worth as much. If you looked at the sales, they're between $546,300 and $586,800, and we have him assessed at $460,500 due to his land and condition. So I would agree with you. Yes, he is assessed lower, but I believe it's appropriate for the market.
To the appellant, they're saying it's assessed lower because of that reason, so it sounds like they did take it into consideration.
Yeah, but they're on their estimates, the land value of my property and the land value of the properties that they're showing are almost similar. They're going off the house. The lower value comes from within my house. They're saying that my house is degraded, but other than it needs a new roof, it's no different than a house that's 5-10 10 years old. When Ada County comes through and puts the new street in, which doesn't have really a whole lot to do with it, but the back of sidewalk will be 10 foot off my window. So they don't want me to build anything on my property. So Ada County's dictating to me, saying, you own the property, and right now, you could build all the way out to that fence, but we're not gonna let you because Ada County Highway in the future is gonna put a road through there. So you can't use that 6,000 square foot of your property to put any structure on there right now. So if I wanna do an addition to my bedroom and put a new bathroom in, I'll be in there right away. I can't do it. I can't go beyond 5 feet. Back of sidewalk will be 12 feet. I can't expand west of my bedroom wall 5 feet, even though it's not even in the works. So I'm being dictated by the county that I have a no-build zone that is just something that Ada County Planning and Zoning adopted. So if it's a no-build zone and I can't use it, like, other than mowing the grass, I shouldn't be having to pay a crazy amount of property. The land value should be reduced by 25% because 6,000 feet is a quarter of my property.
It sounds like they're saying they did take that into consideration. You're
Well,
saying
but
they
their
didn't.
land value and the other houses' land values are the same. They're within a couple $1,000s. So if I'm at 150 and those other houses that are 150 for land value, they didn't take it into consideration. Can you show us the land value of those other houses?
Sure, if you turn to page 5, you can see our land equity map there. Our properties along Maple Grove are all valued the same, depending on acreage there. So it's equitable with his neighbors that share Maple Grove. And as you go into those streets, they go up in value because they're not connected to Maple Grove like they are. So we are valuing them equitable with his neighbors.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to amplify, so the percentage that you came up with is the same on all the people going, bordering Maple Grove, is that's what you're saying?
Correct.
You've used the same formula for all of the others that are up and down that road. If you look at the map, there are several properties along Maple Grove that would be, in essence, treated the same way, and that's what you're saying. You've treated them all the same way.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, can you show me the land value of one of those interior lots on that next road back, half-acre lot, land value versus the land value of my house on Maple Grove? I don't want to know the total value. I want to see your basis of land value. And though everybody on Maple Grove may have a reduced rate, like he said, nobody else is fighting it. I don't know why they're not fighting it, because they can't use it either. But if this lot right here on Missoula has a land value of 150,000 and mine has 150,000 value, that's what I want to see. I want to see those other 3 houses that have that value.
Yeah, you're looking at the land values up there. Those numbers underneath the acreage are the land values, which we have provided in the materials.
So 238 versus 206, that's what, $22,000 difference? If you took off 25% of that number right there, you're looking at closer to $60,000 difference. Took off 25% of that number, my lot would be $60,000 less in land value, not 20. He did take it off, but he didn't take off the appropriate amount.
Well, those are different size lots,
They're-
too.
Well, mine is .46, this is .46. Mine's 4.8, 4.3.
All right, any other discussion? Any other questions?
I guess just another comment, because there are set-asides that, on properties that aren't usable, whether it's side lots or whatever, that are all around a lot. There's restrictions on, you can't build closer than 25 feet and so forth. So, I mean, these restrictions are on, I guess my comment is that if we're treating everyone along Maple Grove exactly the same in terms of the assessed value as a percentage of the value of the property, I think that's fair and equitable in terms of what we're discussing. What we have the obligation to do is equity in terms of the values, in terms of everybody else is everybody's being treated fairly. So I'm inclined to support the assessors based on the presentation we've heard, and again, giving this property owner the right to make that appeal if we make that decision to the Board of Land Appeals, if they consider that as different evaluation based on what we've done. So I would make that motion if we.
Okay, I'll accept the motion.
I move that the Board of Commissioners, sitting as the Board of Equalization, uphold the assessor's evaluation on parcel R 7332848190 and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, there is motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I'll just say, not really for this hearing, but I'm a little curious about the legality of taking the property without compensation. So obviously, if the government takes your property, they're supposed to compensate you for the value, but they haven't quite taken it, but they put restrictions on. And so just from a sort of a eminent domain situation, I'm curious whether or not you're entitled to compensation for that. I'm sure if the court said you would, they'd probably have offered it to you, but it does seem like you're in a spot where you should be compensated by ACHD for the loss of the value of your property. I'm sure that's been litigated, I just don't know what the answer is.
Okay, well, I'm right here to litigate that. So, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
So he has two more.
I know. Okay. We'll now take up parcel S1124131311. Okay, we got the right one here. Ooh. I don't. 1311. Yeah, go ahead. Here, I got, okay, 11. And my package is all mixed up.
Instead of the second one.
Well, he's got them all mixed up here. That's why I was asking him the wrong, oh, this is the one here, but the documentation for it is 9. Well, I just put the other one in there that we just finished.
It helps when the next two together as one. It's one economic unit.
Oh, it is? Well, we're going to do the next two.
Okay, we can do that. Here we go. Okay, right there. Okay, we're going to combine S1124131359 with the previous one, because it's one economic unit. Is that correct, sir?
With the subsequent one, sorry.
With the next.
Yeah,
these
the next two,
these
yeah.
two together.
I already read the one, so I read the other. Okay. So go ahead.
All right, so the property, the last digit's 1311, is a 30 by 70 piece of property at the back of my RV park. That was, the property was purchased in 1995 for $2,500. It was repurchased back. It was sold to the adjoining neighbor with an agreement then when they sold their house that I would get the property back for that plus interest, which I think we paid them back $5,000 for it. It currently takes up 2.5 RV spots, with 50% of it being in landscaping with a 8-foot-tall block wall in the back that Boise City wanted when I built the property. So 50% of the property is usable, 50% has to be in landscaping. Income on those 2.5 RV spots is $600 a month. And so it's $1,500 a month income off of that piece of parcel. And I'm not really sure why we look at income for RV parks and apartments, but apparently they do.
Okay.
I don't know what else to say about that parcel. I mean, they have it valuated at $21,000. I don't know.
Okay.
Boise City says 50% of that has to be landscaping?
50% is in landscaping for the setback. Yep. It was a 30 by 70 piece of property that was taken out of my original 4 acres and then brought back into it.
You ever try to get a variance to put more units in there? Because you think with the housing crisis now, Boise City's looking for places to cram people in.
No, I'm not looking for cram more people in. I mean, it's an RV park. I mean, I worked closely with the mayor when I was building the police station on Fairview to get this done and passed, so it was always designed to be an RV park.
Okay, this one is 311, the back, last number is 311,
Correct.
and okay, go ahead.
Hey, hi, this is Craig Church, Commercial Appraiser with Ada County Assessor's Office. Looking at our respondents' Exhibit 1 there, if I could direct your attention to page 3. This shows the location map of where the subject property is located. It's a 53-space RV park with a 9,000 square foot metal shop. It's located in behind Costco, south of Overland, west of Cole Road. Page 4 shows an aerial of the subject parcels. So both parcels that are under appeal here are assessed as one economic unit. You can see the area highlighted in yellow on page 4. That's the parcel ending in 311, the small piece. You can see it's improved with 3 mobile home spaces, or part of 3 mobile home spaces. The mobile homes, or the RVs, sorry. I mix those up too often. The RVs also spill over into the other parcel there. Page 5 shows another image of the property. This is from our orthos. You can kind of see the shop with all the RVs and the swimming pool and that a little better. Again, turning back to page 1, or well, I guess maybe first let's look at page 2 regarding the small parcel. So if we adjusted the value of the land on that, if that went down, the value of the RV park on the other parcel would go up to get back to the same total. So again, we're valuing it based on an income approach for the whole economic entity, as treating it as one parcel. So turning to page 1, again, the subject property was trended for this year with land being reappraised. We saw some massive increases in assessed values on the industrial industrial land, which I'm responsible for. So and I think it was an average increase of 65% on the land that I reappraised this year, so substantial increases. Both these parcels are assessed at $10 a square foot, I believe is what we're on there. So that was part of the increase. But again, I reached out to Mr. Pipkin earlier through the process the last 3 days, really to try and grab some information from him to see if we could find anything for a potential adjustment, but we haven't been able to hook up that way. Looking at page 1, the total assessed value for 2025 of both parcels is $5,081,200. Last year, the total was $5,127,000. So we actually saw a 0.89% decrease in assessed value for the economic entity for this year. If I could direct your attention to page 6, this shows the income approach on the shop. We're assessing 9,000 square feet of the shop based on a market rent of 90.95 cents per square foot per month, and this is a trended rent. The remaining 4,211 square feet of that building is valued, it's associated with the RV park. It's where they have their laundry and their office. So the value of that additional 4,211 square feet is implicit in the value of the RV park. You can see at the bottom of page 6, we have 9,000 square feet of shop, and the overall assessed value, including land, is 146.75 per square foot. Turning to page 7, I provided 3 comparable sales of similar properties, similar construction. You can see the subject at 146.75, and the 3 comparable sales of similar size. Size was the main factor in what I was looking at in the sales. 198 a square foot, 176 a square foot. And then the third sale, after I removed the excess ground, so we're kind of, comparing apples to apples, that goes down to $252 a square foot with that removed. So again, from a sales standpoint, I think we're treating the shop well. I think we're still on the very conservative side for the shop value. Page 8 shows the comparable sales map. Again, we were looking at shops in that 9,000 square foot area for our comps. Turning to page 9, this is the income approach for the RV park. So there are 53 spaces on the RV park. We're only assessing 50 of those. Mr. Pipkin appealed the property to the BOE last year and had mentioned that he has some spaces that he rents out to low-income people and that, and we thought it was appropriate to take 3 of those spaces off based on our discussion last year. So we're only assessing 50 of the 53 parcels in our income approach. The market rents were established based on the rents that Mr. Pipkin supplied to us in his 2022 appeal. But again, we haven't seen any information that regarding rents that would point us to another direction. Mr. Pipkin mentioned the rents were only $600 a month, but we haven't had a chance to look at any information that way to see where we are. But again, we've got some additional information in the addendum just showing the rents that were used when we established the assessed value on the property. And then just some comparable or some supporting documentation from TOK Commercial regarding the shop property, kind of their supporting information for the income approach. But I'll stand for questions. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Go ahead.
In your evaluation process, what is the determining factor of using the income approach versus another approach?
Sure. So we consider all 3 approaches to value when we're setting an assessed value. And we find that properties like these, most commercial properties, are bought and sold based on their ability to generate income. So the income approach is what typically most commercial properties are bought and sold based on. So that approach tends to provide the most accurate indication of market value.
Follow up. So based on sales, that's what the valuation of a commercial property is generally based on its income producing ability, correct?
Right. The sales prices are based on the the income producing ability. Yes, sir.
And that's why the assessor, used that methodology.
Yes. So we use the income approach for establishing the values, and then I just threw in some comparable sales just to show the supporting indication that our assessed value is still conservative. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead. If you'd like to rebut anything?
Well, I appreciate everything that Craig does, but most industrial property is corporate owned. I'm a sole proprietor, owner, operator of this. The income approach for the building, I occupy the entire building. The building is 12,000 square feet. 3,000 foot is for the RV part. 9,000 foot is me. I don't have any tenants in it. So there is no income approach for the building. If you wanted to assess it at $100 a foot or $150 a foot, that would be more in a line. The the rates of the RV park are pretty flat. There's only us and Mountain View RV Park in Boise. And both of us compete with all the RV parks that are in Nampa Caldwell because they're a lot cheaper out there. So our rates that he has on here, that was when we first opened, and we were kind of hoping we would get that type of rent, but we don't. Our average rent is $750 a month, but we have almost an 18% vacancy year-round. We're really full in the summertime, and we're full right now with a lot of Micron workers and Facebook workers, but when wintertime comes, we see a big reduction in those type of construction guys leave. And so we have a vacancy factor that isn't in this. One of the other things that Craig didn't know about, again, is another ACHD. On the bottom part of the property, there's a 12,000-foot block off that ACHD, in our original commission hearings, they wanted room to expand Targhee and bring it through the field next door. We agreed we would give them adequate room through the design process. So we put a block wall around a 28-foot by 250-foot area that ACHD was supposed to purchase from us back in 2021. They never purchased the property after agreeing to for $66,000. Now they're buying the three houses across the street to make Targhee a straight alignment. So now we have what would have been 4 other RV spots that ACHD took away from us. Now they don't even want to pay for the property that they asked us to put in there. And the whole project was approved around that access on Targhee. So we do have a dead area back there that is surrounded by a block wall. Unfortunately, the block wall is 10 foot tall and 250 foot long. It costs more money to demo that and rebuild it than it is to use that part of the road next to Targhee Street. So it's just sitting on the outside of the fence doing nothing again.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, thank you. Okay, we'll first take up the first one, which is 1124, 413, 1311, the small one, but we're gonna take them both into consideration as a one economic unit, but we need to deal with each individual one. Okay. Is there a motion on this one?
This is
This is the small one. This is
311.
1311.
Mr. Chairman, I think the assessor's office has made sufficient evidence to show that we, and the property owner rebuttal has not been sufficient to overturn it, so I would move that the Board of Commissioners, sitting as the Board of Equalization, uphold the assessor's evaluation on parcel S1124131311 and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we'll take up S1124131359. That's the larger parcel. And I would admonish the applicant. You have the right to appeal this to the Board of Tax Appeals, and you'll have a longer period of time to make your case than what you have here. And you'll be dealing with other people that are used to dealing with these kind of things. We don't deal with this too much. So you understand what I mean. So anyway, is there a motion?
I'll move that the Board of Commissioners, sitting as the Board of Equalization, uphold the assessor's valuation on parcel number S1124131359 and authorize the chairman to sign the document on behalf of the board.
I second the motion.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just as, to amplify what you just said, some of the discussion here, I think, is worthy of going to the Board of Tax Appeals. So,
Well, you'll be able, for instance, your income and so forth, that you didn't have the time to get all the income, and so that's, you had to take into consideration the information you had. You'll be able to provide that to the Board of Tax Appeals. Okay, thank you. Okay, now we have a couple of motions we need to be made on the withdraw and changes, and on the withdraw no changes, and on the no hearings. I'll accept a motion.
I'll move that the Board of Commissioners, sitting as the Board of Equalization, approve the changes on the parcels listed under withdrawn changes and changes no hearing, uphold the valuations on the parcels listed under withdrawn no changes and no changes no hearing, and authorize the chairman to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
I second the motion.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, so we are scheduled for Monday morning, are we not? Tuesday. Wait a minute. So we'll be adjourned till Tuesday. We're adjourned. Thank you.